What's up, vapors? Nick here for Spin Fuel's Daily Vape TV. Today is Fresh Build Friday, and as always, I'm going to be building a brand new coil for you. Today I've got some 22 gauge Royal wire that we're going to be building on a 28.5mm Tobh atomizer, and that's going on top of the Hades mod, and I've got the Fusions mods drop kit in there, so it makes it a hybrid. It should be pretty interesting. I did build the same exact build on another atomizer, and it measured pretty darn low. I believe it's going to be 6 wraps, and we're going to be going around a 14 gauge syringe needle. So yeah, without further ado, let's start and let's get building. Alright, so here we have all our tools to build, and we have our Royal wire right here. As you can see, 22 gauge. Now this stuff is super low resistance as it is, and with this gauge wire here, 22, I have a feeling it's going to be extremely low, and yeah, I'm definitely pushing my comfort zone. Personally, I like to stay around 0.3 ohms, but I have a feeling it's going to end up around 0.16. So let's just cut off about a foot of this wire, and we'll get started. Alright, so we're going to do a standard dual coil today, so I'm just going to bend it right in half and clip it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, so first we're going to build our first coil. We're just going to take our 14 gauge syringe needle. As always, just grab a little bit on the end here and do a quick wrap around to get it started, and then we're wrapping for real. So we're going to do 6 wraps. And when you're all set with that, just unwrap the first wrap. Try to keep it in line as much as possible. Since the positive pin is so far away from the negative, we're actually going to leave a little bit of room for the negative so we can push this coil more towards the center. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So here's what we have so far, and it's looking pretty good. So let's get this thing all set up to go on our atomizer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this negative lead so it gets a direct connection to our negative post without too much excess wire hanging around. So here, as you can see, I've bent the negative end with a quick dual 90-degree turn, and it ends up right where I want it to be on the negative end. So now we're just going to install it and just repeat that process for the other coil. So I'm just going to tighten down the negative post here because we still have to fit another section of wire through our positive post. But this is what you should have so far. Alright, I'm just going to wrap another coil real quick, and I'll just be right back and we'll install it. Here we have our second coil. Now let's install it. Alright, so now we're going to trim off all this excess wire. So that's what I'm going to do now. And here's what we have so far. Now I'm going to quickly straighten out these coils a little bit, and we're going to do a resistance check. So one thing you want to do is keep these coils nice and even and level, and you also want an equal amount of space between the posts and the coil themselves, so they make sure they light up nice and evenly. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do a resistance check. So just as I expected, it's metering pretty darn low. I'm using an MNKE battery, and supposedly these have a 50 amp pulse limit with a 30 amp constant, so I'm well within those parameters. So this thing should be pretty safe. Now let's go ahead and pop it on our mod and give it a test fire. So seeing as how I'm using the HD1 drop kit by Fusions Mods, I'm just going to show you really quickly how to install that. All you got to do is put this this adapter ring on here. And then once it's tight, you just want to tighten up the Allen key screw. Doesn't have to be super tight, just to make a good connection on there. And that's all you got to do. Let's pop it on our mod, and we'll give it a test fire. And that's it. Gives it a nice flush look. So pretty good already without squishing up the coils, so I'm just going to give it a quick little pinch and we should be able to wick it. One issue that I have with this wire is the fact that it tends to have little flakes of carbon when you first fire it. Just noticed I have a few little black specks in the bottom, so you're just going to get those out with a Q-tip. And luckily this is a large enough atomizer where you can just kind of reach in there no problem and get that stuff out. I don't believe it'll really affect the flavor of your juice because I don't think the cotton will actually suck it up, but you know, it is just kind of annoying when you see those little specks in there. Alright, so now that it's pretty clean, we're going to throw some wick in it and have a vape. So here we have our Japanese cotton that we're going to be using today. You just want to roll one end, just the tip, just barely roll it, and stick it through. You want a little bit of resistance, but not so much where it's going to be too tightly packed in there. And we're going to clip off the ends, just leaving a little bit to touch the end of the deck. And fluff it up. So here's what we're looking at so far. Let's just repeat the process for the other side. Alright, so there we go. And let's just dump some juice on there real quick. Today I'm going to be using Lost Arts flavor Captain Peanut Butter Crunch. Alright, so before we have a vape, let's just go ahead and test the vapor production. Well, there you go. Let's go ahead and throw the top cap on and have a vape. Alright, so here we have this beast of a mod. It's the Hades with the HD1 drop kit by Fusions Mods, 28.5mm Tobh, and a 28.5mm fog hat on top, also by Fusions Mods. So here we go, let's take a rip. So as of right now, this definitely doesn't remind me of Peanut Butter Crunch. It doesn't give me the sweetness that I was really expecting, but I have a feeling that has to do with the super low resistance on it. Maybe if I had done an extra wrap per side, maybe that would have helped out a little bit. It's not too hot for me. I think that has to do with the airflow. I'm getting maximum possible airflow to the coil. I have this thing wide open right now, and the fog hat, it also helps. I was rocking a 0.34 ohm 24 gauge build for about a month on this thing, and I absolutely loved it. I got all the sweet flavor out of all my liquids, and this so far just isn't quite cutting it for me. I do like the Royal wire. I would like to do more experimenting with it, but for me, this isn't my preferred build on this mod. For me personally, it doesn't bring out the flavor that I was expecting. That also has to do with the large gauge wire that I'm using right now. 22 gauge is definitely a little bit too big for really bringing out a lot of the flavor, in my opinion. So let's take one more rip. I'll give my final thoughts and I'll sign out. I have a feeling that once this coil gunks up a little bit, it'll be more to my liking. Maybe I'll have to re-wick it or try a different flavor on here, and I might like it a little bit better. As far as the difficulty of this build, it's not very difficult if you're used to building microcoils, and if you have a good pair of small pliers, you can bend those negative wires up so you can get that good connection without having a lot of excess wire in there getting in the way. So as far as the difficulty, pretty easy for anyone that's used to building standard microcoils. For me, it's not my best build, not my favorite build for flavor, but as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you low resistance guys are going to absolutely love this one. It definitely chucks the clouds. Make sure you check out fusionsmods.com for these fog hats. These things are totally kick-ass, and I mean, the hybrid kit with the Hades mod, obviously it just looks so awesome, and it does reduce the voltage drop that the Hades is plagued with. Alright, so that about does it for this video. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to like my page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DailyVapeTV, and as always, vape on.